Hey guys, Sushi-sama here, with a new creepypasta, kind of. I actually had a few I had recorded. I know I promised to do updates. I actually had some ready, and then my Premiere started fucking up, and I am the worst person with Movie Maker. So until I feel like having patience to either fix Premiere or finally learn how to use Movie Maker, I'm going to go about doing my creepypastas a different way, and maybe filling the time in with Let's Plays or what have you in the future. For now, though, what I'm going to be doing is an idea I've been kind of playing around with for a while, been wanting to do, and finally, after some encouragement from friends, I'm going to do it. I'm going to be doing improv creepypasta, where I take a premise and just kind of roll with it and write a creepypasta on the fly. This will be my first time doing this. I'm basing it off an idea that I've actually been meaning to write for a while, but haven't actually put a whole great depth of thought into. So we're going to see how this works out. Of course, there will be pauses, maybe some backtracking, what have you. But as I said, this is my first time, so bear with me. Let me try it. If I like it, I'm going to actually take time to write down what I liked about it, correct things, and then do a real creepypasta for it. But for right now, it's just going to be on the fly. I'm basing this idea off of the premise where I got this idea is from Teddy Has an Operation on Frank One's channel. Not exactly meant to be creepy, but it kind of is. Where, if you haven't seen it before, the link will be down below for you to see that YouTube video, but you'll get where I got this idea from. And if you see me looking down at my little notepad here, I couldn't remember exactly everything off the top of my head, so I wrote it down for myself to make sure I do all the highlights that were in that video, and from there. So again, this is going to be interesting and new, and hopefully it'll turn out alright. If it doesn't, I'll never do one again, but I would like to start doing these more often, honestly, if it turns out okay. So, here we go. Alright, so again, this is based off Teddy Has an Operation. So, I don't know what I'll name it yet. Probably the same thing. Teddy Has an Operation. The Dalio Corporation 10 years ago started a new project where it introduced teddy bears with advanced AI into the market that was targeted towards children to help them to learn and play. The teddy bear would itself learn from the child's behavior about how the child would how he or she liked to play, and based on that, would grow with the child. As all children do, they would grow out of their toys, and these teddy bears would be given back to the Dalio Corporation to be repurposed and recycled and given to another generation of children. For recycled goods, it actually turns quite a profit because you still sell the new teddy bear even though it is technically refurbished. By refurbished, we mean every time a teddy bear comes in, it is reformatted from its previous learned behaviors, stitched up anything that might have happened in its fur, and any other damages corrected. These are called teddy operations, and are looked on with different opinions. After a few years, the teddy was given a recording device to record how it was interacted with. One of the reasons this happened is because a teddy bear came back with severe damage to it, and no one knew why, just that it had been harmed in several different ways, with burn marks and purposeful deformities and restitchings. After that, then when the teddy bears were given the recording devices, if anything was recorded that was out of sorts, such as child abuse or anything like that, these teddy bears were used as evidence against their abusers, but only if they were caught on video. Of course, there were children that abused Teddy, and no one but Teddy, and no one saw anybody abuse the children. And in those particular cases, nothing could be done for the child, unfortunately. Because you can always tell when a child acts out that it is a reason. as one of these operators that would fix Teddy whenever Teddy came in by either stitching up its various cuts or reformatting its behaviors or anything like that. I've seen some things over the years. Seen things and heard things in the recording that I can't do anything about, no matter how much I want to. Unless an abuser is actually seen on Teddy, we can't do anything. One teddy bear came in. I forget what his name is, and there's no reason to remember the name, because once they're operated on and reformatted and refurbished, they're given to a new child and given a new name. Its number was 5749. When I received this teddy bear, much was damaged with it. It had various burn marks all over its fur. Its arm had been replaced with another stuffed animal's arm. Different things had happened to this teddy bear. You had to wonder why. So I began the operation, as anyone else would, into its first lair, the bonbon lair. This is the sharing that Teddy does. Sharing candy, sharing toys, whatever. This is the lair that teaches that. The bonbons in here were full of cigarettes and other such things. The bonbons are supposed to be candy, because that's what you're supposed to share as children. Children should enjoy their sweets, not nicotine. So it was disappointing there to see that. But of course, we fixed up Teddy, took out all the terrible cigarettes that were in there, and gave him back his hard candies to share with the next child. Further inspection down, I had the play pouch. The play pouch is, of course, where Teddy learns to play with the children. There was a lot of missing from the play pouch, and what was there seemed almost rotted. So sprinkle on some new sprinkles, and Teddy's ready to play with the next child. Next there is, of course, the crotch unicorn. Funny place for a unicorn. It was kind of an inside joke when it was first made, but the children don't seem to find it unless they're... That's okay. Crotch unicorn is meant for imagination. This one was healthy, surprisingly enough, but all it means is that imagination is intact. Sometimes imagination isn't always healthy, depending on what the child imagines. The next would be the kidney. There's all sorts of crowns in the kidney, and the healthier the crowns are, the more vibrant the colors. These were all green. Sickly green, like gangrene. Means that Teddy grew impatient. Teddy had no time and no mindset for the children anymore. Of course, had to take out those green grounds and remove and replace them with yellows, oranges, and reds. And then there's Teddy's courage sack. It was covered and riddled with bugs, roaches, fear. Fear is taught. That is one thing everyone should know. No one comes into this world with fear. You should come into the world with curiosity, which is, of course, what we replace those dreadful bugs with. Playful things like frogs and cats and dogs and curiosity. Of course, last is the heart. This Teddy actually had a very large heart, but it was broken. A heart's heart was broken. Someone hurt Teddy. Who could have possibly hurt Teddy? There's always an image of a child left in its heart whenever we get it back. So we have to remove the image of the child so that it can be repurposed for a new child. If we happen to already have one waiting for a new Teddy, we can go ahead and put that image in there. Kind of like an older sibling being reunited for the first time with a younger sibling. Something like that. Stitch it back up. Teddy's good to go. Curiosity gets the better of you, though. And you have to look at those videos and you have to listen to the recordings. Why Teddy is the way he is. Dreadful thing that. So many images of a young boy smiling for the first few months he had Teddy. Had nothing in this world but play and happiness. And he played with Teddy. He played well with Teddy, and he had a grand imagination. They could just step into a cardboard box, and it would be a whole other world. It was grand. And then the child would come into his room, where he had Teddy laying on his bed, and he would have a bruise on his face. And he'd cry at first, and try to reassure Teddy that everything was all right, as if he heard Teddy speaking back to him. But then Teddy asked too many questions. Teddy always asked too many questions. He had to teach Teddy to be quiet, just like he had to be quiet. This behavior went on for months, years. When the child would come into the room, when he came in, more bruises, more cuts, Teddy would receive the same. When he came in with a broken arm, Teddy received the same. When he came in with a burn on his face, Teddy would receive the same. A couple of times he would bring Teddy to school with him, and the children would ask questions, and he told them to mind their own business. He had no patience for their questions, and Teddy learned to have no patience for anyone's questions. He kept doing these things for years. And no one heard anything because he never spoke. He never told. And Teddy never told. But he would continue his games with Teddy in the quiet, with the imagination. At first he imagined a world where he did not get hurt, where Teddy did not get hurt. But when that reality never came, he made sure it never came for Teddy, too. And the imagination turned to more darker things. It turned to violence. What he'd do to the children that laughed at him and called him names and asked if he fell down the flight of stairs. He kept Teddy longer than most children do, into his teens, when he started smoking and sharing with Teddy. Sharing the cigarettes instead of candy. That violent world that he built in his imagination just kept getting worse and worse and worse. Till the dark was all that Teddy knew. We're not supposed to. But I looked into the files of the child. I just was curious. And I wanted to see what happened to him. If he ever got away from his family. If it ever even got out who was doing it. Because again, it was never on Teddy's eyes. And so we can't report anything. The child was murdered 2 months ago. Found in a ditch. Cuts, bruises, strangulation. I wanted to turn over Teddy for evidence. I asked my superior if I could. But we can't. Well, we can, but there's no evidence in it. Just evidence that he was being hurt. Never any evidence of who by. I quit, Dalio. I can't help children. I wanted them to learn how to play. To be good. And this one did learn how to play. Just in the wrong world. I've taken all the videos I've ever found from any of the teddies and given them to the newspapers. Maybe they'll help bring down Dalio. If we can't help children, we might as well not even exist. As for myself, I have my daughter to go home to tonight and look in the eye and give her a brand new Dalio teddy bear.